Yeah, we need to get real clear that a soldier is not necessarily an initiated warrior. And someone who is heavily armed is not necessarily an initiated warrior, and often is not. And I wonder if there's anyone here that believes that killing someone makes you a man. Obviously not. We have lots of monster boys who have killed a lot of people, and they are not men. They are not psychologically or spiritually men. My understanding of the code, the deep code of the self, the human self, there are two axes. There's a vertical axis between the royal and the magician. Here is the tension, the necessary tension between power and the capacity to have the wisdom to critique power. So that's really the axis of appropriate sovereignty, because if you're going to use your power with wisdom, you're going to have to develop the magician as well as your royal. Because the royal, without the insight of the prophet, the wise man or wise woman, will always abuse its power because it can't see through its grandiosity. So there's the vertical axis. Today we're actually working on the horizontal axis. And it was on this horizontal axis between the lover and the warrior that I discovered the fateful distinction, the difference between the genders. There is enormous interdisciplinary evidence that young males are flooded with their instinctual, I would say archetypal energies of aggression long before they have had the time to develop the wisdom and insight and understanding and empathy and compassion that they would need to be able to utilize their aggression in a responsible way. I say aggression because I can't stand it when people say, they are aggressive, I am assertive. That's all. People that have not dealt with their own shadow aggression think they're assertive. Every human is aggressive. Every female is aggressive. Every male is aggressive. The question is not whether you have the instinctual energy of aggression. The question is, have you developed the wisdom and the empathy and the compassion and the skill to utilize your aggression, turn it into appropriate, principled assertiveness and effectiveness? Without aggression, you will be sloppy. You will not have boundaries. Without aggression, you will not, without modulated, tuned, trained aggression, you will not be able to organize. You will not be able to be disciplined. You will not be able to plan. You will not be able to monitor and manage projects. You will not be able to linearize tasks so that you can actually monitor them carefully and see how well you're doing. There's a lot of these things. Certainly you will not have a clear sense of right and wrong, and certainly you will not have the actual capacity to protect the weak, and you may never develop a sense of mission for service if you have not initiated this warrior sector of your psyche. But what I was shocked about when I made that discovery, putting all this data together, was that, oh my God, the young female is flooded with lover energy, and that's why she tends to be such easy prey for the predators. The data around the world shows that young women do not have the equipment and energy they need to protect themselves from predators. Enormous data. By the time a woman gets to midlife, she has learned some warrior things. She's gotten insight, and she's got the capacity to stand up for herself, if at all, if there's any chance for it at all. Actually, women at midlife become much more effective warriors than men at midlife. In fact, the midlife turning is when the flooding of the warrior actually shifts from the masculine to the feminine. And the flooding of the lover that young women experience is experienced by midlife men. So there is the critical asymmetry that distinguishes fatefully, some might even say demonically, the difference between the genders. Just as a man is getting to the point where he can experience the delicacy and the need for gentleness in his relationships with the delicate, beautiful feminine, she has gotten her sword out. And look, you I tried to get you to express your gentleness to me for 30 years. I'm no longer interested. If you want to know the cause, there's a lot of us now that have put a lot of interdisciplinary data together. If you want to understand the cause of the enormity of divorce at midlife, it is based on this shift and the fact that neither men nor women maintain their consciousness of what has happened. And women do not do enough to maintain their connection with their gentle, loving receptivity at midlife. And men at midlife don't do enough to maintain connection with their capacity to act and be clear. So there's a lot I could talk about there, but today we want to focus on the enormity. Michael and I both are going to touch on it. The enormity of the challenge of helping young men with their aggression so that it is not demonized and they become castrated and unable to be assertive agents in their lives. I won't ask for a show of hands, for though I'm not going to ask you to raise your hand, but to join me to say that those whose aggression was so shamed and by their mothers are humiliated by the slap of the fathers, that you have not been able to claim your aggression yet, even if you are in your second half of your life. I won't ask you to raise your hand, but think about that. There are men in this room who still have not been able to claim and learn to utilize effectively their own aggressive capacities. They're instinctually given birthright of aggression. See, my mother taught me, don't ever fight, son. No matter what, don't fight. And I remember one scene where my father was a principal of schools, and my father was a most honorable, incredible man of integrity, and my mother had told me never to fight, so there would be a lot of people that were ridiculing my father and saying horrific things about him, and I thought, I listened to my mother like at Parsifal, and I thought, well, I must not push back against this. That was a terrible wound. It took me till I was 60 years old to become Finally, I've achieved it, enough. I'm going to push back, But in any case, there are a lot of young men, and especially a lot of these highly moral ones, who wouldn't hurt a fly, who have simply have achieved becoming passive aggressive, weak in the face of things they should confront, and ineffective in utilizing their own gifts. So one choice which I and many, many other people, a lot of them in the academic world and in the world of therapists, who never really had a warrior initiation and hate people who do. They don't count their hate as aggression. I always listen. I listen to the hate. I listen to all my pacifist leftist friends' hatred of George Bush. And it's not lost on me the incredible archetypal intensity of the hate. That is, my friends, aggression. So